Good evening and welcome to Channel 8 Sports. Tonight from J. Doyle Field in East Brunswick, it's the Bears football team hosting Woodbridge in a Greater Middlesex Conference Red Division game. Hi, I'm Jimmy Allinder, and I'm being joined this evening by Phil Hill. And Phil, 2 weeks ago, East Brunswick opened up on a rather disappointing note right on this home field here, losing to Cherokee, but rebounded last week with an impressive victory over Piscataway. I guess the question to be asked is, which team are we going to see tonight?
Well, Jimmy, if I were Gene Haley, maybe I could tell you, but I don't know. I think hopefully you're going to see the team that played in Piscataway, and they were a vastly different team. Tough defensively like we thought they would be from the beginning of the year. Offensively, they're still developing, but showed some sparks and whatnot. So it should be a good game.
Right. And you had mentioned that offense has been a problem for East Brunswick. Mark Neary, the starting quarterback, but Varnell Johnson had an excellent game last week, didn't he?
An all-around excellent game. Varnell Johnson scored on a 17-yard reverse. He had a 50-yard interception. He caught the ball with nothing but hands, took it in, and he had a 60-yard punt return, which was called back due to penalty. So we talked about him the first week, and the young man opened up with a bobbled punt kickoff return. Then he fumbled the ball, and then he got hurt. So a rough first week, but he certainly rebounded the second week. And the Bears rebounded, so I expect a super game.
Okay, and defensively for the Bears, who can we look for tonight?
The same people. Their defense has been doing it. Pazinko and Kammerer have been very tough. We look for Jay Adocio to reappear. All of the defense has done a pretty good job, though. Against Piscataway, they just shut him down completely.
Okay, Woodbridge, their first game was I think a 14-13 defeat to a very strong Edison team. This may not be the same Woodbridge team that we have seen in the past.
21-14 to Edison, they lost. Edison is probably the premier team in this area. They have a line like you haven't seen in quite some time in Middlesex County. Woodbridge played them very tough. Woodbridge believes in himself. I talked to Mike Salento earlier today, and he feels very confident. He feels he owes the Bears something. He wants to bring in there and pay the debt. Okay,
and last year, if you recall, the final game of the season, East Brunswick lost to Woodbridge in a game played in muddy conditions, and we'll go into that a little bit later. So there might be a little bit of a revenge factor on East Brunswick's hand tonight, too. So we're about ready to begin the action in just a moment. Okay, we're about set to begin action here this evening. East Brunswick Woodbridge here at J. Doyle Field. You see in the middle of the field the captains for the respective clubs. Observing the coin toss for East Brunswick. Number 60, Max Skirby. Number 44, Scott Kammerer. Number 50, Matt Pazinko. And number 92, Steve Zins. Phil, we want to talk about Steve Zins, too. I understand he had an excellent game against Piscataway.
Steve Zins had a super game against Piscataway. I believe he had 2 or 3 sacks, Jimmy, and he was just all over the field. I like the development of the young man.
Okay, the captains are partially obscured by us. I believe that's number 51, Bob Peterson. And as soon as Mr. Kammerer gets out of the way, we'll find out who the other captain is. That could be the quarterback, but we'll wait on that. We have an interesting pronunciation. It's going to be bothering me all night. It's number 14, Chris Kobalakowicz, I believe it is, and I hope I get it right. But regardless, Rich Nyers, number 40, is the other captain.
And Brian Picorello, number 71, is the other captain for Woodbridge.
Okay. Not a tremendously large crowd tonight. You'll be watching this game Monday, but this game is actually being played Thursday evening because of the Jewish holidays upcoming. East Brunswick won the toss, I believe, and is elected to receive.
And I'll tell you, as you see the Bears take the team, Marcus Borden has to be thinking he'd like to just play Woodbridge on even terms, Jim. Last year it was Waterfield, where the field was nothing but a quagmire.
Exactly. How did it happen? It didn't rain that
allegedly,
night.
some kids turned on the sprinklers and left them on all night. Not everyone believed that story. Woodbridge, remember, had the straight-on runners, and the Bears had the wide-open offense, and that limited them. And Woodbridge ended up winning that game 8-7. This week they come in, and the Bears had only 3 days to prepare for Woodbridge, and once again they find themselves as at a disadvantage. So Marcus Borden would like to play them on even terms sooner or later.
looks like teeing up the ball for Woodbridge's 66 Dennis McDougal. Deep for East Brunswick, the one we were talking about, Varnell Johnson, 19. And number 42 for East Brunswick, that's Mike Pilato. Johnson, of course, ran back that interception and is the fastest player on the team, likely anyway. And I would almost think that Woodbridge probably wants to kick the ball away from Johnson, Phil.
Well, they were at the Piscataway game and scouting, and they saw what Johnson can do. They saw him on that punt return go 60 yards, so I believe they tried to keep away from him as well.
And we're about set to go. East Brunswick Woodbridge. And that ball, a nice run back by East Brunswick. Trying to get a read on that. I believe that was number 20, Anthony Billings.
Right.
And East Brunswick will start off on its own 40, 41-yard line. 1st and 10. We're just underway here. And East Brunswick looking to uncork its offense. Mark Neary is the quarterback for East Brunswick. He is a junior. And he's back to pass. And gets through and winds his way up to the 49-yard line. A fine run by Neary.
I tell you, a really fine run by Neary. And Neary is a runner. Last week against Piscataway, Neary was the second leading ground gainer and had an awful lot of runs, Jim, so he doesn't mind running.
And no doubt that Neary has been an important part of the East Brunswick offense rushing-wise. So East Brunswick coming up to the line with a 2nd and 1 yard. And I believe that's a give to by Mike Pilato. And he is just around that 1st yard marker, and the official is going to give it to him. So East Brunswick gets its first down to start this game. And they are on the Woodbridge 48. No score. And East Brunswick comes out wide to the left with R.J. Davis and Vin Papadopoulos. Here comes Neary, and he pitches to Pilato.
Ooh.
Almost got around that left side.
Just ran out of turf, Jimmy. He looked like he had a step there.
He had open turf, and I'm sure the offensive coordinators for East Brunswick are going to observe that. As it is, it looks like Pilato got about 6 yards on that carry. So East Brunswick on both 1st down possessions gets fine yardage. And
I tell you, the offense is looking rather confident.
As you observed, Phil, big, huge line for Woodbridge. Neary back to pass. He's going to throw it, and Davis has it. And you can see he staggers into the end zone, but nonetheless, a fine touchdown pass reception. Davis' 2nd of the year. And East Brunswick jumps out to a 6-0 lead. 48-yard pass play. 43-yard pass play. The touchdown coming at 10:31. Only a minute and a half gone by in this 1st quarter. And as you observe, Phil, that was a fine offensive possession for the Bears. Cairns puts it up. And it's off to the left. It looks like he shanked the punt a little bit.
I think it might have been tipped, Jim, but let's go back to that touchdown play. A beautiful pass by Mark Neary to R.J. Davis, and Neary is showing us something early on. R.J. Davis is steady as the day goes long. Watched him again against Piscataway. If he doesn't get balls thrown his way, he doesn't mind. He just does his job and whatnot. Ball thrown in there beautifully. He caught it with nothing but hands, took it in stride, and took it in. A beautiful play.
Really was. And I think it's fair to mention, Phil, that East Brunswick being a defense-oriented team, as we've seen the first 2 games, it's really positive for them to get out in front early so they can utilize that defense.
No doubt about it, Jim. They started off against Cherokee in the hole, and they never did recuperate.
Okay, Cairns is going to be kicking for the Bears. They're in front, 6-0. 10:31 remaining in the first period. Deep for Woodbridge is Jason Moorman, and that's a familiar name. He's a junior.
Right, second string quarterback. He vied with Kablakowicz last year for the starting job. Number 34, Kevin Gallagher. You want to keep it out of his hands.
Okay. That's Moorman. He backs up on his 10, 15, gets around, and it looks like Pilato's going to nail him at the 23-yard line. Fine defensive coverage by the Bear kickoff team. And that's where Woodbridge will begin its first possession of the evening. Kobalakowicz is going to be the quarterback. He's a 5'10", 165-pound junior.
And the Barrons run a multiple offense. They'll do some eye. They'll do some of everything. Right now, you see him in the eye, Jim.
Okay, Gallagher's the deep back for Woodbridge. And the give to him, and he gets about two. Woodbridge, Phil, as we have always noted, is a very conservative team.
Very conservative, but they will throw a few tricks in there every now and then.
Okay, and I think that's probably what they're going to want to do, is try to get East Brunswick's defense to be sucked in a little bit and then uncork something.
And Scott Cameron on that tackle, we're going to watch him. You'll find him wherever the ball is. Somehow he'll be around it.
Kobalakowicz stands over center. Second and about 10. And he's back to pass and reset. It's caught. Caught by Marvin Barton. And he's near first down yardage. I believe he has it. Barton was open on that.
And Marvin Barton, the oldest of the Barton brothers. You got Marvin and Maurice Barton, and both of them are contributors for that Barron team.
So Woodbridge picks up its first down.
And you look at Kablakowicz, he has a live arm, Jimmy, maybe two live. I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay, ball on the 35. Give to Gallagher. And gets a, sort of wades his way up for about 3 yards.
And Gallagher is a slashing type runner, Jimmy. He can break one on you, but he likes to pick up them 4 and 5 yards, 6 and 7 sometimes, just slashing through.
Well, we're going to give him 4 on that one at least. Going to bring up a 2nd and 6 for Woodbridge. Barrons with Kobalakowicz over center. And it looks like Kobalakowicz is going to pass, but he is caught.
Steve Zinn, I'll tell you, Steve Zinn played a super game last week, and he's picking up right here, Jim.
Okay, and that's a loss of about 8 or 9 yards on that, so that's going to bring the ball back to the 33-yard line, bringing up a 2nd and 14. Quality play by Zins. Boy, he has really emerged out of nowhere.
He has developed.
Number 92. And we're going to keep our eye on him. Kobalakowicz again, and he's caught. Boy, that was some charge. Mark Wolfskill in there. Also Dave Christensen, 34. And that is a huge loss.
I'll tell you, the Barrons are retreating.
Yes, they are. Ball's about on the 21-yard line, so we'll tack on another 13-yard loss. East Brunswick going to play, that was a 3rd down situation, so.
Let's look to see if they do the reverse on this punt. They did it last week, and it went for 60 yards, even though it was called back due to a penalty.
Kobalakowicz is the punter for Woodbridge. East Brunswick ought to get this ball in fine field position. Nice kick. Johnson retreats. Keeps the ball coming around this near side. He's got a wall.
Got a wall.
Turns it on, and they just, safety back for Woodbridge, just able to nail him.
I'll tell you, number 22, Marvin Barton, you're right, the safety back, the only man left back there to stop Johnson, and he did.
A fine run back by Varnell Johnson, showing you all his attributes.
I'll tell you, when you look at the films, you like to see how that wall set up. East Brunswick did an excellent job of executing it just then.
Okay, timeout call by East Brunswick. Not quite sure what for. regardless, we have 7:07 left in this first period. East Brunswick on its first possession marched down the field, and Mark Neary, quarterback, connected with R.J. Davis on a 43-yard touchdown pass. And East Brunswick missed the extra point, so we sit here 6-0. East Brunswick having the ball now on the 33-yard line of Woodbridge.
I'll tell you, and as you see Marcus Borden out there talking to the troops, sort of nice to see him back in those white pants, Jim.
Okay. Boy, you have to wonder if Neary's going to be going through the air again. He was really successful. How do you think Woodbridge was caught by surprise on that?
Well, against Piscataway, the Bears did nothing but run, an awful lot of running, mostly Che Nugan and Neary. So they might have been caught somewhat by surprise.
And looking down the depth chart for Woodbridge, Barton and Moorman are two of the backs back there. Davis split wide to the right. And Neary calling signals. One setback for East Brunswick. 1st and 10, Woodbridge 33. And Neary is caught.
Ooh.
Important play for Woodbridge because East Brunswick seemed to be.
I'll tell you, John Ventavega, the nose tackle there.
Right, he snuck through.
Just blew in there.
Loss of about 6 on that play, so it brings up a 2nd and 16 for the Bears. That is one huge line. Number 79, Sal Valente.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see Edison.
6'7", 348. Okay. Give. Up the middle. I believe that was Johnson.
Varnell Johnson on the carrier. Rick Nyers on the tackle. Nyers, number 40 for Woodbridge, was in on 18 tackles last week for Edison. That's a lot of tackles, Jim.
Okay. We're going to give Johnson about 3 on that play, so it brings up a 3rd and 13. East Brunswick probably in a passing situation. Tenora, Davis to the left. Here comes Neary. He looks for him. And Tenora right through his arms. He was open.
Slightly behind him. He was open, but it could have been caught. You're right.
So that brings up 4th down. And you have to wonder, with the ball on the 37-yard line, why East Brunswick might not go for it here.
I think they may well.
Neary's looking to Borden. Nope. Borden makes the decision to kick, looks like. And we're going to see who's going to be the punter for East Brunswick.
Bob Valera, I believe.
Okay. Valera picks it up and puts a nice one in the air into the corner.
Ooh.
And a rather nice kick. Let's see if the referee spots it. Right about the 11-yard line, and Valera does his job.
He's got a foot against Piscataway last week. He also fired off a rocket, so young man can kick.
And that was a source of concern for East Brunswick before the season began, but Valera really has his confidence now. And Woodbridge finds itself in deep field position. 5:42 remaining first period. East Brunswick 6-0. Touchdown on their first possession. And Kowalakowicz, quarterback. Gallagher, 34, deep back. And the give. Phil, I can't pick that up. Is that Barton?
That's Barton. That's
okay.
Number 22, Marvin Barton.
About a yard gain on that play. Brings up a 2nd and 9. And again, you see the conservative offense. I guess Woodbridge in this position doesn't want to make any mistakes. Give East Brunswick a opportunity. Kovalakowicz gives to Gallagher, but Gallagher is just caught right at the line of scrimmage. Maybe lost a yard or two on that play.
I'll tell you, a host of East Brunswick tacklers led by Matt Pazinko. And Jimmy, I don't know if Jay Adosha was in there. Against Piscataway, practically the last play of the game, he got hurt. So,
all right, we're going to check the sidelines to see if Jay Adosha is playing. That nose guard, he is an important part of the the defense for the Bears. Regardless, it's 3rd and 11 for Woodbridge. They're about on their 10. And the give to Gallagher, and East Brunswick's defense was not fooled on that.
I'll tell you, Jim Kale, number 63, the person who's taken Jay Adosho's place, was in there like a rocket, and he's doing the job.
Exactly, another loss for Woodbridge, and they're going to be kicking from their end zone here. East Brunswick ought to have another fine opportunity to put the ball in. And the defense for the Bears has really risen to the occasion thus far. That's Kovalakowicz, the punter. And he gets off a wobbly kick. Pilato's going to field it on about his 40 and gives to Johnson. Cuts through and gets down to about the 31. A fine run back once again by Varnell Johnson.
I'll tell you, it was a fine run back. I'll tell you also, though, sometimes you got to, they had that set up for the play for the reverse there. But by the nature of the kick, sometimes you got to take it where it is and just pick up what you can. Pilato might have done well to do that. Of course, he's following
How is that
directions.
Exactly, I was going to say, is that a preconceived or is that something that the players can decide on after the kick?
I don't know, but there I think he should have took it himself.
Neary brings up the Bears to the 31-yard line of Woodbridge. And he goes left, pitches it. Pilato doesn't find too much open field here.
First time we saw the wishbone tonight also.
And East Brunswick will do that. They'll play a variety of the E-bone, as it's called, with a wishbone, a run option veer, trips, you name it. Pilato picks up 3 yards on the play, and East Brunswick will be faced with a 2nd and long 7. 3:11 left to go in the first period. East Brunswick 6-0. Give to Nugent. Nugent up the middle, finds a lot of daylight. G. Nugent, leading ground gainer for the Bears this year. He's over 100 yards.
I'll tell you, he had over 100 yards last week against Piscataway, and he is the workhorse for this team.
And he popped through for a first down to the 11-yard line. East Brunswick marching once again here. Just under 3 minutes to go, first period. Papadopoulos and R.J. Davis go wide right. Give up the middle to Pilato, and he struggles forward for about 2 yards. And that is a 2nd and 8. They're going to give him 2. Neary at quarterback. He's back to pass. He's looking for Johnson. And he finds him. A nice touch pass right in the end zone, Phil.
I'll tell you, Mark Neary showing something there. Of course, Johnson was wide open, but Neary had, as you said, a nice touch on the pass there. Just laid it right in there.
It did look like a blown assignment on the part of Woodbridge. But give East Brunswick credit. And Warden comes out onto the field, which must mean there's another timeout here. I think they're going to go for 2 on this. Which is not a bad idea, Phil. As long as you're going to make that decision, you might as well talk about it.
Right.
East Brunswick does lead 12-0 now, 2:20. And unofficially, I think we're going to have to give Johnson a 9-yard touchdown reception. Pass play coming at 2:20. It left in the first period.
And I'll tell you, as you look at Marcus Borden out there talking to his young players, there's been some talk this week about the disadvantage of the short week. But sometimes, you know, the players are ready to go. After that first opening loss to Cherokee, coming back against Piscataway, and they were chomping at the bit. They just wanted to get out there. So,
yeah, you have to think that the victory over Piscataway. I think there were some skeptics about whether East Brunswick could even handle Piscataway, and they did so in a rather convincing fashion. I think it gave them a lot of confidence, and I think you're seeing that in the first period right now. So East Brunswick going to go for 2, following the touchdown reception by Johnson from Neary. Mark fades back, and Pilato was the intended receiver, but was broken up. So the conversion is not good. East Brunswick still, though, out to a 12-0 lead, and we still have 2:20 left to go in the first period, Phil.
Well, we're wondering about their offense. When was it going to wake up? And they put on an offensive show thus far.
And remember, this is a Woodbridge team that played Edison very tough. And
that's right.
As you mentioned, Phil, Edison may be the favorite in the red division of the GMC this year.
Just by nature of the line, Jim. You got to see this line.
I understand they have some backs. Charles Perry, perhaps?
We discovered Charles Perry in basketball. If you remember, I said this kid should be playing football. Somebody must have heard me.
Okay, Karen's going to kick it off for East Brunswick. Looks like Mormon, 17, is the deep back, but Gallagher, 34, and Barton also there. Mormon takes it. And who's down there for East Brunswick? I'll tell you, a nice penetration by 67, Nick Szymanski. He was the one that forced Mormon outside, and it was just remained for Pilato and a couple of others to get in there and finish off the tackle. Again, good special teams play by East Brunswick.
Right, Sheldon Gonchar in on the tackle there.
Woodbridge barely gets the ball up to the 20-yard line. I'll tell you what, in high school football, you have to be really pleased to keep a team on their own 20 on a kickoff.
In any college or pro as well.
So Woodbridge down 12-0. Kobolakowicz quarterbacking for the Barrons. And that pitch is to Gallagher. He has a little bit of room here. And lunges forward after he was initially stopped. Kammerer was the first one to hit him, but he couldn't bring him down.
I'll tell you got to keep an eye on Gallagher. He's a fine runner. He'll keep bamming into that line until he's able to break one.
And he got himself 12, 13 yards on that play, up to the 33, so give Woodbridge its second first down of the evening. We are just under 2 minutes to go. First period, East Brunswick 12-0. 2 touchdown passes from Neary to right into the line. 2 touchdown passes by Mark Neary to R.J. Davis, 43 yards. Varnell Johnson, 9 yards. That brings us up to the score. That's about a 2-yard gain, Phil.
The middle of the Bears defense showing tough right now.
Looks like Jim Kale is playing over top of center.
Right.
Second and 7 for Woodbridge. And I believe the fast count brought East Brunswick offside on that. In high school, well, you don't have the opportunity to bring it back. And that's the call.
It is.
I've often wondered about that, Phil, why encroachment will be called in a neutral zone for high school, because by nature, these are kids and they're a little less undisciplined than the colleges and the pros. Yet a pro or a college player can jump offside and come back. It's just a thought I had, though.
Of course, if you did it in the pros, you'd be there forever.
Exactly, that's for sure. Kobolakowicz, quarterback. Hand off to Gallagher, but he stopped this time.
I'll tell you, Steve Zinn again, the first hit on there.
Exactly. Zins came around from his left end position and nailed Gallagher before he had a chance to get going.
Gerbervac coming to the side, seems to be a little shook up.
Well, it may be equipment change, Phil, and he's going to be coming out. In for East Brunswick is Skirby, number 60. East Brunswick's biggest player, I believe, 5'10", 275.
And Doshio must be hurt. As I said, during the Piscataway game, at the very end of the game, he got injured. He must be out this week.
Okay, 3rd and 2 for Woodbridge. East Brunswick, Woodbridge 41. Give to Mormon. He's not going to make it. A fine effort by the Bear defensive line. And Skirby had to be in there. It was right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Skirby was the first hit.
And no gain for Woodbridge. Brings up a 4th and 2 on their own 40-yard line. And they're looking at their coach, Mike Salento.
I tell you, Mike, you got to punt it.
Quite a decision here. He's taking his time. And I think what he might be doing is waiting for the clock to run out, Phil. There's only 13 seconds and counting. And I think they're just going to wait for the clock to run out at the end of this quarter and think it over.
Well, there's no wind to speak of, so there's no advantage there.
So there you have it. The end of the first quarter. East Brunswick jumps out to a 12-0 lead against Woodbridge in this Red Division game. Well, Phil, quite a contrast to what we saw here 2 weeks ago, huh, against Cherokee?
Certainly so, and surprisingly so. I thought the offense would be a little slower coming around, and they've just been dominant today. And as I said, this Woodbridge team is not a bad team defensively.
You know, the observation that I have is that given young people learning a complicated new type of offense, even though they did play well in scrimmages against Brick and Phillipsburg, and I think some other team too, maybe they just weren't used to the game conditions of running that offense, and they were prone to mistakes. Neary being a junior, he seems to gain a little bit more confidence last week. This week, as in the first period, he seems to be very comfortable playing.
I think there may be something to that, but I think the big thing was Cherokee. Cherokee's defense had a whole lot to do with it.
And that's going to be the last time we're going to allude to the Cherokee game tonight. I think we want to forget about them for this year anyway. All right, Mormon is in the backfield for Woodbridge, number 17. He is the, I'm sorry, he's not the regular punter. Bobolakowicz is the regular punter. And the way Woodbridge is lining up, it appears as though they are going to go for it, Phil.
I don't believe it. I think he's going to go back into punt formation.
All right, we'll watch. Anyway, Johnson comes up to the line for East Brunswick. Maybe they're trying to draw him off. Give to Gallagher, and he is stopped. A big play by the defense. It's close to the mark, but I'll tell you what, he's going to be short on this. They may measure it, but from here it looks like he's about a yard and a half short, Phil.
I don't think he got it. You got Wolfskill, camera.
Al Pazinko is waving his arms.
A number of people in on that tackle.
And they're not going to even measure this. Maybe they did measure it, but it's short.
I'll tell you.
And a fine effort by East Brunswick's defense.
I'll tell you, you got to wonder. It wasn't like the Barrons were moving the ball against the Bears, and to take a chance right there at this point in time of the game, I just don't quite agree with it. I thought he should have punched him.
Well, it will really come back to haunt Mike Salento and Woodbridge if East Brunswick is able to score. Again, fine position for East Brunswick on the Woodbridge 41. Farrick and R.J. Davis give to Johnson, and I think he's going to be caught. That play really didn't look like it was going to develop.
I'll tell you, but the quick in for Woodbridge Barrons is Willie Brown, a transfer from New York City, and seems like all over the county people are benefiting from transfers.
I think you're right, Phil. I think it needs to be mentioned that South River, with a 2-0 record, is the beneficiary of one Nelson Bonilla.
And he's for real.
Okay, 2nd and 11 for East Brunswick. And 71 for Woodbridge. Brian Picarillo jumps offside, but I think he's claiming he was drawn.
He's the captain, and he should be heady, so we'll see. No.
The official didn't say it. Well, it was a chancy play by Picarillo. Really needs to be an obvious movement on the part of the line to even want to do something like that. So East Brunswick makes up that no gain in the first down, so they bring it down to 2nd down and about 6. Nugent, the only deep back for East Brunswick. Neary calling signals. Here comes Johnson. And Neary's back to pass. And I think he's going to throw deep to Johnson. Catches it. Beautiful pass play, Phil.
I'll tell you.
Well, you can see that developing.
Well, we've seen it before, and Johnson actually had to wait for the ball a little bit. Figueroa in on the tackle there.
Right, Figueroa seemed to just be more concerned about tackling Johnson than looking for the ball. Gain of about 20 on that play. So East Brunswick has the ball down on the 15-yard line of Woodbridge. 10:44 left in the second period. East Brunswick 12-0 and still marching here again. Give to Nugent up the middle. Good yardage. He keeps on running. And a nice effort. 6-yard gain for Gene Nugent.
And the Bears have been known for doing that. They'll spread you out all over the field and then just run it in tight.
Well, we saw a second down situation last series, and East Brunswick threw the ball in the end zone. We're going to watch for it here. Wide to the right is Davis. 88, Dan Arminio is to the left, wide. And the give is up the middle to Johnson. And he bulls his way forward. Probably about 2 yards shy of the first down. East Brunswick can afford to be conservative here. Just about 2 yards to go for East Brunswick on this third down play. They're on the Woodbridge 7-yard line. And Neary comes to the left, decides to come in and is just nailed short of the first down. Let's see where the officials mark this. I don't think there's any doubt that if East Brunswick is short, Marcus Borden is not going to go for a field goal here, Phil.
Okay, you see Scott Cameron going in the tight end, so
we'll watch for that.
You can watch for that. They got him in there for blocking purposes, so you might see him go right off Scott's tail. Let's see.
Okay, fourth down, just about 2 lanes to the football for East Brunswick. Give to Pilato, and he struggles forward. I think he got the first down, Phil, in that last effort.
I'll tell you, it's very close and whatnot.
Mike Pilato.
Mike Pilato scrambling actually prevented his knee from going to the ground, let his hand hit the ground, and crabbed a little bit.
Son of a gun. Pilato's second effort was the one that got that first down.
I'll tell you, you players, you don't like the crab drill. That's why the coaches do it. Just came in handy there. Pilato was down on one hand and crabbed in to pick up the all-important first down.
Important, yes. East Brunswick on the 5-yard line of Woodbridge. 8 minutes, 45 seconds left to go in the second period. Neary gives to Pilato again, breaks another tackle and tumbles into the end zone for the third East Brunswick touchdown.
I'll tell you, poetic justice there. Mike Pilato doing the job.
It really was a great effort on the part of Pilato. He just would not give up. He got that first down, and then on this next play, broke a tackle and brought it in. And East Brunswick up 18-0. And Cairns is out there for the extra point attempt. And Phil, it's looking too easy here.
Looking too easy.
There's the snap, and it looks like it's been broken up. Okay. Tenoro is the holder on that play. And
right. Snap came back, skidded along the ground. Tenoro figured to use his head and try to do something with it rather than set it down, and just got caught.
Cairns appeared like he was adapting to the fumble, and Tenora had the ball. I think if Brian had just set it down, I think that Cairns would have been able to adjust to it, kick it through.
Quick thinking from up here, Jim.
Regardless, East Brunswick 18-0. East Brunswick not successful on any of its extra points attempts, but still in all, this is a fine effort. And Woodbridge has to be spinning. Boy, that really was a mistake, not going for that, punting the ball on that.
I'll tell you.
For Woodbridge back on that last play, East Brunswick marched down smartly. Highlight was that pass to Johnson. Okay, Cairns ready to kick off. 8:37 left to go in the second period. 18-0 East Brunswick. This kick a little short. Mormon takes it on about his 18 and comes up the middle.
Ooh.
Ran by, guess who?
Steve Zins. No? Mike Pilato?
I thought it was Pilato, but I might be wrong on that.
42. One of those twos. He nailed him.
Now Woodbridge is on the 37-yard line, and this is really the first the best field position that they've had to start with on a drive. And we're going to give it over to the East Brunswick defense once again. Watch them do their job. Kobalakowicz, that quarterback for the Barrons. Quick pass, but he doesn't find anybody, and he's caught.
I'll tell you, Pazinko Gerbervac.
Zins is back there also.
And Zins as well.
And I'll tell you what, I can't find anything at fault with East Brunswick's game thus far. They have been flawless offensively and defensively. And we got a timeout here. And Woodbridge is going to call a timeout, talk things over.
And you see Mike Schlintl kneeling down there, and he's really trying to settle his troops down because they got to be shell-shocked, Jim. They just ran into a buzzsaw in these Grizzly Bears, and they're trying to readjust.
Wow, East Brunswick comes over to its sideline here.
Something new.
Interesting. I guess there's nothing in the rule book that says that Gordon and the coaching staff can't talk collectively with East Brunswick. I'm not sure what they can say other than keep on doing what you're doing.
Really?
Boy, we're mentioning a lot of names on the defense too tonight. A lot of names. Wolfskull, Gerbervac has been in there.
Kale.
Really haven't had to call the defensive backfield too much, which means to say that Woodbridge is really finding difficulty getting past that line of scrimmage.
I think you're going to hear some of the defensive backfield from here on in because they're going to have to put that ball up.
That's absolutely true.
And you need to watch out for this kid Figueroa.
Really a beautiful evening for football. It's temperature in about the 60 to 70 degree range. No wind to speak of. And it's a 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13 for Woodbridge on about their 34-yard line. Kobalakowicz looking out, but here comes, just missed. Kobalakowicz throws it.
Ooh.
Through the arms of Mormon. He was open. And I think Johnson was coming up to meet Kobalakowicz, thinking he was going to run it.
Kobalakowicz showing some great athletic ability. And I tell you, he has a live arm. The young man doesn't seem to know anything about touch, but he will fling it out there.
All right, he was able to elude Dave Christensen's arms on that play. And every single play, if the play has time to develop, you'll find an East Brunswick defender in the backfield for Woodbridge. And that's got to be a problem. So that brings up a 3rd down and 13 to go.
They may throw to Nyers coming out of the backfield, number 40 here.
We'll take a look. Figueroa's on the near side. There he, back to pass. Pressure, and that one's caught.
Figueroa.
Kammerer is the one that nailed him.
Figueroa coming up with a big catch there.
And Woodbridge definitely needed that 1st down. They come through with it and bring the ball up to their own 48, so that's a gain of 15. And the clock continues to run. We're under 7:30, 2nd period, and East Brunswick leads 18-0. 3 touchdowns, 2 on passes and 1 on a run by Mike Pilato. Kobalakowicz calling signals for Woodbridge. And he fades back again. Here comes the rush. Pazinko gets out of his arms. Nice block thrown there. Allowed Kobalakowicz to get an extra couple of yards.
And Scott Kammerer again in on the tackle.
Well, that was almost a loss for Woodbridge, but the quarterback for Woodbridge, Kobalakowicz, squirms his way up for a about 3-yard gain. And Phil, I think this is the first time that Woodbridge has been in East Brunswick's territory tonight. Ball on the 48. 2nd down and 7. Quarterback back to pass. There's the throw and a nice timing tackle.
Brian Tenora on the tackle there.
I think Gallagher was going to catch that if Tenora didn't hit him at that time.
And as I said, Jim, you can expect to see a lot of passes now. And
the opportunities for interceptions are going to also rise for the Bears. They're going to be expecting the pass. So with that incomplete pass, it brings up a 3rd down. Still 7 yards to go. Woodbridge taking its time. This is a very crucial drive for them. Down by 18 points. It's still the first half. Kobolakowicz. And he's back to pass. Christensen.
ooh,
And I think they're going to call
interference.
Pilato with reaching in there before the ball arrived.
I'll tell you, that was awfully close, Jim.
And Borden, East Brunswick coach, is signaling for East Brunswick to call a timeout here. I'm not quite sure why. All right, now this is not a penalty from the point of foul, but in actuality would be marked off 15 yards. All right, I see what they're doing. They're calling a tip pass, Phil. So they're waving off the flag.
Good call. Good call.
But I think you're right. I don't think Pilato was in there any sooner. Well, there's a discussion going on with the captains, and I'm not quite sure why. It's Nyers and Kammerer.
And you're looking at 2 of the premier linebackers in the county, Nyers and Kammerer.
Scott Kammerer, as we have mentioned, is a Division I college prospect. Very aggressive player. A co-captain for, tri-captain for East Brunswick. A 6'2", 220-pound senior. And that was a 3rd down, so Kobolakowicz is back to punt. And Woodbridge not taking a chance this time, interestingly, Phil.
Well, he's the quarterback.
Gets it off. It's a low driving punt. And Johnson elects to let it roll. And Woodbridge downs it on the 3-yard line. So Varnell Johnson was going to about field that ball on about the 15-yard line, but he was not quite up on it. So rather than risk the fumble, he let the ball roll down to the 3. And with 6 minutes left to go in the second quarter, East Brunswick's up 18-0. And I think it was a good decision on the part of the junior, Phil. He didn't want to make a mistake and get Woodbridge back in this game.
Good decision, thought to be at the time, but didn't turn out that way, Jim.
Okay, East Brunswick will begin from its own 4-yard line. And here comes Nugent. There goes a flag in the backfield. I wonder what that's all about. Came kind of late. Nugent stormed up the middle for about 16, 17 yards.
Usually holding when you...
And that's the call. So we're going to bring this back, and they're going to mark off half the distance to the goal line. So East Brunswick will find itself on the 2. Boy, East Brunswick has found daylight anywhere they have attempted to either run or throw the ball.
Well, it's as simple as doing the job up front.
So a 1st and 12. Ball on the 2-yard line. East Brunswick cannot afford a mistake here, obviously. Neary will probably be conservative. Ooh. And looks like Nugent the carrier again, but he finds no room on the right side.
And Ventavegna, nose guard in on the tackle, number 58.
Brings up a 2nd down and 13. Just over 5 minutes to play, second quarter. Neary gives to, I believe that's Gehrman. Excuse me, that's Jim Varick, the sophomore. Remember against Cherokee, Phil? We were so impressed with Varick coming up from the defensive backfield.
They had to find
some they got him in the backfield now. And I think it was just a matter of time. This is really a fast, good-sized sophomore. And I'm just waiting for him to break one. And I think Woodbridge calls timeout. That's the call. So Woodbridge lining up its defenses for this third down play. And as you look down on the sidelines, that's the East Brunswick cheerleaders. Cheerleader advisor is Debbie London, and the assistant cheerleader advisor is Lori Juba. You can also hear the band in the background. And they'll be doing their halftime show, as you always see. Quite an increase in numbers this year, Phil, in the band.
Quite an improvement, Jim. They really sound great. Okay, this is a big down for Woodbridge and a big down for the Bears, too. Bears don't want to do anything to hurt themselves, and Woodbridge certainly doesn't want them to get this first down because they're looking at pretty good field position.
East Brunswick on about the three-yard line, their own 3-yard line. Neary gives it up the middle to Pilato, and first down. First down. Fine effort by Mike Pilato.
I'll tell you, it's close, Jim. I think you're a little premature, but it is a first down.
Okay, I thought he got over that marker, but you're right, Phil. It wasn't
I'll tell you,
marking.
a good call. You really want to do a call where you don't do anything that you're going to hurt yourself. The worst you could have done was punt out of there. And I don't know if Woodbridge is looking for something else or what, but to give up 11 yards when you got them backed up like that has to hurt.
Especially at this time. That was a crushing play for Woodbridge. They really needed to stop East Brunswick on that play, force the Bears to punt. Didn't work. And now East Brunswick finds itself with a first down on their 15-yard line, 4:34 left in the second period. What do we got on that, Phil?
Number 51 jumping off sides and encroachment, I believe.
Yes,
No,
it is.
he was drawn off apparently.
No, they're marching it up. I think you're right the first time. And the Barrons committing a number of mistakes here. Okay, Neary taking his time. Nugent with it, and he doesn't have any room.
And he swarmed under.
All right, let's see what we have here. It's going to be about 3rd and 6. I believe it's a 3rd and 6. No, excuse me, that was a first down on that penalty, so that brings up a 2nd down. No gain for Nugent. So East Brunswick has a 2nd down and 5. Clock rolls, under 4 minutes now. Second period, East Brunswick up 18-0. Neary with the pitch. And there's Varick, and look at him go, Phil. Fine effort, fine effort. I'll tell you what, he shook one tackle, attribute that to his size, and then he just turned on the burners and got himself about 6 or 7 yards.
I'll tell you, looking at Jim Varick,
he is
sophomore, 5'10", 160.
He really looks impressive. And East Brunswick gets a first down on that. Keeps possession and, more importantly, keeps the clock moving. Give to Pilato, and look at him go. Wow. East Brunswick just finding all sorts of holes.
I'll tell you.
And you got to wonder what's going on with Woodbridge. They're the team that had a lot of extra time to prepare for this game. East Brunswick with just 3 days of practice. Needless to say, another first down by the Bears. And they're up to about the 46-yard line. Neary on the option, gives it to Pilato. And Mike tries to squirm his way through. I don't think he got too much.
Marvin Barnes and Marvin Barton and Kevin Gallagher coming up for the tackle there. Pilato putting his nose in there.
Well, we're going to give him 3 yards on that. And Mike Pilato comes out of the game. well-deserved rest.
Tell me about it.
He's had an excellent game.
Wishbone.
Give. Well, we couldn't get that on that one. That's Johnson.
Barnell Johnson on the carry.
And he gets 3 more.
I tell you, under ordinary circumstances, you'd keep this ball on the ground, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him put one up. Wishbone.
Neary gives to Varick, and Varick,
he's got
I
the
believe
first.
He's got enough for a first down. Well, we knew we had something when we saw that defensive play a couple weeks ago, and Varick is proving it out. I think you're going to find him getting a lot of action in the East Brunswick backfield as this season goes on.
Certainly more playing time.
First down for East Brunswick, and they continue to march. 2 minutes left in the second period. East Brunswick 18-0. Ball's on the Woodbridge 43. Neary gives it to Nugent, I believe. And Nugent bowls his way
I'll
through.
tell you, he drags a few people.
Well, I know it's premature to talk about anything as like a win. It's not even halftime, but this is really something that's going to open the eyes of the rest of the coaches in the conference.
Well,
I don't think they think that East Brunswick had this capability.
Well, I don't think they thought they'd dominate Woodbridge as they have.
Okay, a gain of 4 on that. Neary
Johnson
gives us to Varnell Johnson. Little shuttle step. Squeezes his way through for an extra couple yards.
And the Bears are just controlling that ball and eating up that clock, and that's exactly what they want to do.
And as Phil says, we have just about a minute left to go in the second period. And with that under a minute to play, watch for the pass play perhaps. And Neary's back. He's going to look for R.J. Davis.
Ooh. I'll tell you.
Well, Woodbridge was prepared for that one. Davis was fleeting down to the right side. There were 2 men on him, and Mormon came up and almost made that play.
Well, Mormon had it in his hands, but couldn't hold on to it. Not a well-thrown pass by Neary.
One of the few times that pass wasn't on the money. All right, that stops the clock with 47 seconds to go. 4th down for East Brunswick, and they're going to go for it here. Neary, quick pass to Johnson. And Johnson, using his speed, gets a nice advance down to the 25-yard line. And looks like East Brunswick's going to call timeout. I believe that's their last timeout, Phil.
And I'll tell you, you see Marcus Borden walking out there. He wants to score. Make no mistake about it.
Yes, he does.
We talked a little bit about Waterfield last year, and these coaches have long memories. I mentioned Waterfield to Mike Salento earlier in the day, and he mentioned a game that he wasn't even a part of when Brian Forte was playing, when East Brunswick kicked the field goal after being up 30 to nothing.
I recall that, Phil. that was when Brian Forte, believe it or not, was a sophomore. And I think Frank Caprero was the head coach at that time. East Brunswick had really put a pounding on Woodbridge. And I believe Josh Miller was the field goal kicker and launched or went for a 47-yard field goal that was good. And I'll have to tell you, Caprero was waving his arms across the field. Must have passed on that information to Salento.
I'll tell you, Salento's, well, he's a Woodbridge Township lad. He quarterbacked for Colonia High School. And like you said, he has some loyalty to Woodbridge. Salento had been with Perth Amboy for 3 years, been with Metuchen 4 years before that, and now he's home with Woodbridge.
All right, well, this is payback time for this year. And East Brunswick wants to get that ball in. 39 seconds left to go in the second period. Neary is back to pass. And he elects to run with it, not finding a receiver. And East Brunswick's going to have to get up to the ball because I don't think they have any timeouts left. There goes a flag.
Unnecessary roughness.
And that stops the clock, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll tell you, that official that threw the flag was sort of back there. Neary was stumbling through. Granted, the Woodbridge player had his hand still on him, but I don't think it was very aggressive as if to slam him to the ground or anything.
Well, I think, Phil, maybe the official was just saying that the Woodbridge player was not allowing him to get loose, and that was the unsportsmanlike
Well, I think what he's saying is I blew the whistle and I want the action to stop.
Right.
Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way.
Well, that stops the clock with 28 seconds to go, and East Brunswick should get some fine field position. If nothing else, they should be in position for a field goal try. Official.
Well, the fact of the matter is they're in position for a field goal try right now. Now, Ian Kearns, of course, is the record holder for the Bears with a kick of 49 yards. I believe his first attempt last year.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Right.
Ball marked off all the way down to the 13-yard line. East Brunswick already on the ball. Yeah, apparently the clock does begin after the penalty is marked off. And there we go. Neary gives it on a slant. This is Pilato. Almost got away. And apparently East Brunswick did have one timeout, and good thing they did. Boy, if Pilato had just broken that tackle, I think he would have got in.
I think you're right. Well, Jim, let's play you be the quarterback. You be the coach.
Well, I be the quarterback. I throw it because Mark Neary has really had a nice touch tonight. He's thrown to Davis for one touchdown pass. He's found Johnson open in the end zone. Of course, Pilato was the element of surprise, knifing through the middle for that third score. You got to think Woodbridge is prepared for it.
I don't think Woodbridge is prepared for anything right now tonight, to tell the truth. But it should be interesting.
Yep. Just to bring you up to date, East Brunswick leads 18-0, 3 touchdowns. R.J. Davis hauling in a 43-yard pass at 10:31 in the first period. Bears were no good on the extra point attempt. It was a fumbled snap. Then East Brunswick comes right back on their second drive. A 9-yard touchdown reception by Varnell Johnson, also from Mark Neary. That's a 2:20. And then finally, Pilato, after getting a big first down to keep the drive alive, on the next play goes in from 5 yards out to make the score 18-0. And that's where we are.
Okay, Marcus Borden has called the play, and I'm going to call it now. And you got to look at Davis on a look-in, quick.
Okay. And you got it, Phil. Davis goes up, and they're calling him out.
Oh,
I don't see it.
I'll tell you, he was slammed out.
Well, East Brunswick, they're going to call him out of bounds, but in actuality, Woodbridge knocked him out.
Well, in the pros, I don't know if it goes for the high school, Jim, but certainly in the pros, if your feet aren't allowed to come down, they give you the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, Cairns has just come into the game. Looks like East Brunswick's going to go for a field goal.
Wow, unfortunate. Nice catch by Davis.
It really was.
Nice throw by Neary.
I want to review that on the films again. Mike Cairns is going to set it up from about the 17. It's a 27-yard, another center snap that was bad. And this doesn't get over. So East Brunswick having some problems on the center snap. And that keeps the score at 18-0. But Phil, another fine drive by East Brunswick. This one started from their 6-yard line.
I'll tell you, East Brunswick is clicking on all gears tonight, Jim, and they look like a well-oiled machine, even more than anyone could expect.
And you got to wonder, with 10 seconds left to go in the period, ball in on the 20. I think Woodbridge wants nothing more than just to have this period end mercifully, get off the field and regroup.
Now Mike Salento will put that ball up, Jim. He's nothing to lose at this juncture.
Okay, we'll watch. Obolakowicz, we haven't called his number in a while. It was a long, sustained drive by the Bears, helped by a couple of penalties. And a conservative give to Gallagher.
Oh, you're more right than I.
It's just the nature of Woodbridge, though, to be that way, Phil. We've seen it so often.
Really.
And there you go. One of the best periods of, halves of football I've seen in East Brunswick in quite a few years. A convincing 18-0 lead. We had a player down for Woodbridge.
Last play of the half, an injured player, right.
Regardless, though, that's going to end things here in the first period, and we're going to be right back, and we'll be watching the East Brunswick band. So halftime, East Brunswick 18, Woodbridge nothing. Okay, we're back after a fine halftime show by the East Brunswick Marching Band. On the field, the East Brunswick Bears are putting on their own show. 18-0 was the halftime score. And just to run down the scoring real quickly for you, East Brunswick opened up very quickly with R.J. Davis catching a 43-yard pass from Mark Neary. Came at 10:31 in the first period. Extra point was not good, and East Brunswick jumped out to a 6-0 lead. Following that, Woodbridge was stymied, forced a kick, and then East Brunswick came right back. Short drive culminated with Varnell Johnson catching a 9-yard pass, also from Mark Neary. It came at 2:20, and East Brunswick was up 12-0. Extra point, or actually a 2-point attempt, was no good. Woodbridge still couldn't get going in the second quarter. As a matter of fact, they were really stopped the whole half. East Brunswick started a drive from about midfield, and Mike Pilato, getting a important first down on a 4th and short yardage, stumbled his way to the 5-yard line. That gave East Brunswick a first down, and then Pilato just took it right through the middle for a 3rd touchdown. Again, there was no good on the extra point attempt, and East Brunswick led 18-0. And that's where we're at this point, Phil. Also, East Brunswick took a lot of chunk of time out of that second period on a drive that started from the 6-yard line, went all the way to the length of the field. They didn't get any points out of it, but ball control is the name of the game, and they've been doing well offensively and defensively.
They've been terribly impressive, Jim. And I tell you, things go from bad to worse for the Woodbridge Barrons. On the last play of the half, number 34, Kevin Gallagher, their fine tailback, was injured and had to be carried off the field. So they're in a whole lot of trouble.
Yes, they are. That was their major running back. Barton is the other running back that Kobalakowicz was handing off to. Before we begin here, I just want to express a little apology for mispronouncing for the last 2 weeks the fine running back for East Brunswick, number 85, Che. We were pronouncing it Nugent. In reality, it's Yun. And correct us in the future if we do it wrong. So.
And also an apology to Tom Gierman.
Right.
Who's been German for about 3 years. Tom Gierman.
Okay. And we thank you all for sending along those notes. We appreciate it. So we're about ready to begin in the third quarter here. East Brunswick 18-0. Cairns has his hand raised, but Woodbridge is not even ready yet.
Woodbridge wasn't ready because Gallagher is normally back there, and they had to substitute really quick.
Okay, Mormon is the deep back, number 17, and he's flanked by number 29, it looks like, Steve Mazuka. And Barton looks to be on the left side. So here we go. Line drive. Barton takes it, and he moves it inside, trying to find some running room. And he nudges his way over past the 30-yard line. That's where Woodbridge will begin to start this third period.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting what the Barrons, what kind of adjustments they make. We know they're going to put the ball up, Jim. No use talking about coming out, trying to establish the run and so forth. They're going to put the ball up because they're playing catch-up.
Exactly, and probably with Gallagher out there, that even cinches it more. So, Kobalakowicz, still the quarterback, hasn't found much success tonight. East Brunswick stacked up over the middle defensively. And Kobalakowicz was looking for 83, I believe.
Right.
That's Nick D'Alessio. I think D'Alessio was expecting the ball to come a little later than what Kobalakowicz threw. Regardless, it's an incomplete pass, second down, Woodbridge.
And you can bet the Bear linebackers love this. They know the Barrons have to pass, so they'll be teeing off.
Okay. Figueroa also. Ooh. And as you said, Phil, Pazinko pounding his way in.
I'll tell you, and Dave Christensen as well, number 34. And why not? As I said, the Barrons have to pass, so you just can let it fly.
And you had mentioned, Phil, that Woodbridge did a fine job against that big Edison line in its last game. They have not contained East Brunswick at all this evening.
At all.
So with that loss of about 8 yards, it brings up a 3rd and 18. Woodbridge on its own 25. They're trailing 18-0. almost picked off, but nonetheless, play goes nowhere.
I tell you, it went right through Christensen's hands. He put his hands up, the ball went right through there.
And Dave would have had himself a nice, easy touchdown if he had gathered that in, but still, Woodbridge doesn't get anything out of that attempted screen pass. In fact, they lose about 5 yards, so that's going to bring it back about a 4th and 20, it looks like. And once again, Phil, East Brunswick should get the ball in good field position. Well, there's some confusion. They seem to be looking at the sidelines here.
Again, when you lose a man that's in on everything like Gallagher,
right,
you got to remember somebody has to take his place.
Okay, that's Kobalakowicz kicks it. And it looks like it's coming to Johnson. Here we go. Give to Pilato. Doesn't get around.
And my point again, Jim, whereby sometimes how the ball is coming down has to dictate what you do. I think sooner or later you're going to see the coaches call off that and tell them to, if in fact it's a short kick and you look like you can pick up more yards going straight ahead, just go ahead and take it.
Right, another observation here. Woodbridge was scouting that play, and they had a lot of players on either side of the ball, but the middle was very open. I wonder what East Brunswick would do if they just decided to take that ball up the middle. Well, regardless, they have a first down on their own 44. Neary on the option. He keeps it. Eludes one tackle, and a fine run down to the 40-yard line of Woodbridge.
I'll tell you, out of the wishbone formation, faking into the line and then keeping it himself, Barry's proven to be a fine runner. And taking over where Troy White left off. And, of course, Troy White, we understand, is doing a fine job at RPI in upstate New York.
It's great to hear. Quarterback last year for East Brunswick. Neary got himself 15 yards on that play. First down for East Brunswick on the Woodbridge 40. They're up 18-0, 9 minutes to play, third period. Out of the wishbone, give to Pilato, and Pilato spins his way down for 4 yards. And boy, I'll tell you what, it didn't seem like he had a lot of room to run, Phil, but 4 yards, maybe even 5, it's got to be the surge of the line.
The line is doing the job, and it's hard to figure. Again,
got to get some names in there.
It's at this point in time, they're getting off the ball a lot faster.
Besides Pazinko, Bill Nataloni is on there. Neary pitches. Johnson. Well, he's still running.
He's still up.
He was stopped, but he was still running.
It's all well and good. Johnson, hard to bring down there. There's a time to go down, though. Yeah, you have to learn that as well. There's a time to keep bulling, but there's a time also to go down.
Just to round out that offensive line for you, 52, John Liano at one guard. Number 60, Skirby, Matt Skirby at another guard. We mentioned Nataloni. Matt Pazinko at center. Here's Neary. Keeps it. And I believe there's a fumble on that play. It is. Neary fumbled the ball and Woodbridge recovers. So that's the first turnover for East Brunswick tonight.
Okay, a big break for the Barrons, and they certainly needed one, so let's see what they do with it, Jim.
Well, Mark was just a little bit undecisive about whether or not to pitch that ball off, and I think he was tackled in midstream, forcing the fumble. Fortunately for East Brunswick, it's in their in Woodbridge territory on the 30-yard line.
This has to be a fly pattern for Figueroa. You got to believe that's what it is.
That's the wide receiver, number 3 to the right, top of the screen. And looks like Kobalakowicz was able to needle it in there. Sorry, I thought that ball was complete, but apparently it hit turf first.
Right, Figueroa didn't hold on to it.
Even with this obvious passing situation,
well, they're doing play action, which I don't understand. You're certainly not going to fool anybody with play action right now.
Well, Figueroa and Moorman are on the bottom of your screen. Kobalakowicz calling signals for Woodbridge. Pitch, though, to the right to Barton. He's got a little bit of room, but grabbed. I guess Gehrman.
Gehrman.
Sorry.
Tom Gehrman, number 28 on the tackle.
Barton picks up 3. 3 hard yards. I tell you, East Brunswick is not budging one bit tonight. They have a very comfortable lead. Conceivably, they could play relaxed. So Woodbridge with a third and about 7.5 yards, let's call it. They're on their own 43-yard line. And Kobalakowicz is going to throw it. Mormon on the reception. And I think Tenora took a chance, left his man, and tried to go for the interception. So Woodbridge gets the first down, and they continue this drive. We've got about 6 minutes and 24 seconds left in this fast-moving third period. Still 18-0. The Bears on top. This is a Red Division GMC game.
And you can look for the Barrons to do more rolling out to try to avoid that rush instead of dropping back.
Kobalakowicz. And a long heave. Caught by Figueroa.
I'll tell you, he's a fine athlete.
And Pilato was just playing his man on that. Never even saw a pass.
Well, Figueroa's been around a couple years now, and it's just a matter of time, you know, that they got to go to him. He is their main receiver.
And that's easily the biggest gain for Woodbridge this evening. Brings the ball all the way down to the 25-yard line. And they're going to set up shop right there. They need a score to get back into this game. They're down 18-0.
Watch number 40, Nyers, coming out of the backfield.
It's Kobalakowicz. He throws again. And Mormon grabs it as he spun around and came down.
I tell you, Jason Mormon, number 17, he is the second string quarterback. You remember last year, Woodbridge went with 2 quarterbacks, Mormon and Kobalakowicz. Kobalakowicz winning out, and Mormon finding the spot as the wide receiver.
Well, you got to know that Woodbridge is going to use his athletic skills. So that's the third consecutive pass that the Barrons have completed. It was good for 4 yards, so it brings up a 2nd and 6 on the East Brunswick 20-yard line. And our double reverse here, Mormon with the ball, and he's got all kinds of room. He's going to score.
Wow.
Fine play for Woodbridge. Caught East Brunswick leaning to one side, Phil, and Mormon took that pitch.
I'll tell you, when you're being aggressive like East Brunswick has and whatnot, they set it up very nicely. I'm just surprised that usually a person gets in the middle of that and breaks that up, and it didn't happen there.
Well, Varnell Johnson looked like he was coming over to that side, but a Woodbridge blocker was waiting for him and stopped Johnson's effort.
So let's give the Barrons some credit.
So Jason Mormon on a 20-yard double reverse around the right side puts Woodbridge on the board, and an important extra point here. And it just gets over the crossbar. So the score, 18, East Brunswick 7, Woodbridge. And if nothing else, the Bears get a wake-up call here.
They get a wake-up call, and they better wake up. Woodbridge has come out. We knew they were going to pass the ball. They've did some awfully nice passing and came with this double reverse, and they're back in the game.
Well, we're going to see if that does something to the Woodbridge defense. It's funny, Phil, they lose their top man, Gallagher, and as you had mentioned, forced to be in a passing situation, and East Brunswick playing back a little on it, gave the Woodbridge what they wanted. But I think they were caught on that last reverse.
They were caught on it. They just were caught on it. Like I said, as aggressive as the Bears have been, usually somebody ends up in the middle of a play like that. It just didn't happen there.
Well, Woodbridge set to kick off.
No one stayed home.
Score coming at 5:32, still remaining in this third period. And we'll see if this wakes up the Woodbridge defense. Back for East Brunswick, Varnell Johnson and Mike Pilato. And here we go. Short kick taken by Pilato. He comes up the middle with it. And brings it back to the 36-yard line. That's where East Brunswick will begin. And let's see how Marcus Borden, the coach for East Brunswick, plays this. I'm sure he would like to get another score on the board.
He'd like to get another score. He'd like to control this ball, too. They've shown the ability to control the ball, to run that ball at Woodbridge, and Woodbridge hasn't been able to stop them. Let's see if they continue.
Okay, and Erie, quarterback. In the backfield for East Brunswick, that's Yen, front on the wishbone, along with Johnson and Pilato in the back. Neary pitches it out to Johnson. Good cut. Look at that move. And he is, what a run. Gets by 3 tacklers and no one is going to catch him.
Mercy.
What a play. Beautiful run by Varnell Johnson. And we said all along, Phil, he's a game breaker.
Mercy, mercy.
And this kind of breaks it open once again for East Brunswick. First play from scrimmage. Boy, you wish you had a replay on that one.
Well, we talked about in the beginning of the year the type of excitement this young man could bring to the Bear attack, and that was just a sensational run. Breaking several tackles along the way, scooting, and what can you say?
Well, you can say it was a 65-yard run, but if they make highlight films, that certainly should be on it. And that really shows Varnell Johnson's strength in addition to his speed.
That's right.
Cairns, nice snap this time. And Ian Cairns puts it through. And East Brunswick goes up once again, 25-7 now. And really just a fine, fine run by Varnell Johnson.
A fine run by Johnson. The Bears showing something by coming right back after being scored upon. And you gotta like it.
Gotta like it if you're an East Brunswick fan. For if you're a Woodbridge rooter, I'll tell you what, that's like taking the air out of your sails. You come back and score a touchdown, you feel like you're back in this game, and all of a sudden, first play from scrimmage, Johnson just rips off that run. And well, Woodbridge is gonna have to play catch up once again. And we still have 4:47 left in the third period. Crowd enjoying this game. You know, it's really is a nice crowd considering it's a Thursday night. We have a lot of people here.
That's right.
Woodbridge brought its own contingent with it.
Nice crowd, nice night.
Beautiful night for football. So Eon Cairns, who just converted that extra point, tees it up on the 40. And he will be kicking off to Mormon. Barton. And I'm not sure who that is. Phil, that is not Gallagher, is it? 34 out there? I think it is.
And he's limping.
Believe it or not, Kevin Gallagher, who was taken off the field, as Phil mentioned, either that or somebody put a 34 jersey on him.
It's Kevin Gallagher.
Wow.
He's taped up. He's back in the backfield, and it's sort of hard to believe because he had to be carried off the field, folks. And he is limping down.
Well, he's going to remain in there as the deep back.
Well, I don't
well,
know.
now he's coming out. Okay. Well, anyway, Woodbridge is going to start on its own 30-yard line. And let's see if they pick it up from where they left off on that passing. Kobolakowicz back to pass. And a fumble. Wolfskill picks it up. And I believe he's going to go in. Wow. Mark Wolfskill. A junior, 5'10", 207 pounds, and I think he's going to remember this play, Phil.
He's going to remember that. You see him tumbling over the field, and well he should. He's excited. Ripped it off his right guard spot, defensive spot, tackled the quarterback, picked up the ball, and went in for the touchdown.
Well, I'll tell you what, East Brunswick's defensive line has been in Kobolukowicz's face all evening. I think the quarterback tried to pass it, but he didn't get his arm back. Mark whipped it off, picked up the fumble, as you can do in high school football, run it in. Here's Cairns, and he puts it through. And before you can say presto changeo,
wow.
We got a 32-7 game here.
Wow.
And I'm running out of space.
I'll tell you, it's going to turn some heads in the county.
Wow. Unofficially, that's we'll call it a fumble recovery on the 6-yard line, where Wolfskill picks it up and runs it in for the touchdown.
And you like to see those linemen do that. They do. A lot of times we don't call their names, they don't get the glory. But they're in there doing the job every day, Jim.
They really do. And on that last touchdown, which was scored at 4:47, this one at 4:11. So in the space of really 36 seconds, East Brunswick puts 2 touchdowns on the board, and they lead 32-7. And Ian Kearns, we're calling his number an awful lot. He's going to kick it off again. Mormon deep, Gallagher and Barton. And Mormon takes it up to the 25-30. And another fumble. Let's see who has it. And Woodbridge recovers, fortunately for them. It's already been a disastrous evening.
I'll tell you, Mormon, number 17, ends up recovering it for the Barrons.
And Woodbridge, you can't blame them. They got to be stunned right now.
Yeah, they have to be.
Mike Soleno, the coach for Woodbridge, trying to keep his troops together. And I see a couple of new faces in there for East Brunswick. Dave Dixon, 83, is in there at 1 linebacker spot. Give is to Barton, and he really gets nothing, maybe 1 yard.
You got Skirby, Kale.
Kale on in on the tackle. So just about 1 yard gain on that brings up a 2nd down 9 for Woodbridge. Ball's on their own 32-yard line. Kobalakowicz, I think, tries to keep it. No room to run, really. Again, East Brunswick comes up with a fine tackle. So we're going to give Kobalakowicz 1 yard on that.
I'll tell you, I like Skirby defensively. You wonder why he's not used more.
Well, he certainly has the ability to plug up that middle. Third and 8. Passing situation for Woodbridge. And Neary running for his life. He's going to throw it deep. And Figueroa brings it in. Nice catch.
I'll tell you, Blockowitz running for his life and does get out of it. And Figueroa, the top receiver.
Well, East Brunswick defenders not really wanting to take any chances on missing the interception and then not being able to tackle. Playing behind the runner as well they should.
Well, when you have to score like it is now, Jim, you can take some chances.
So a 1st down in the East Brunswick 49. Kobalakowicz again to Figueroa, and a nice timing tackle. Pilato once again.
They're saying he didn't have possession.
And Pilato comes up limping on that play, as you can see. Doesn't seem to be in too much trouble, but nonetheless, Barrick will come in and replace him. So we just have just over 2 minutes to go on that incomplete pass. Brings up a 2nd down for the Barrons, just inside East Brunswick's territory. The Bears with a very comfortable 32-7 lead. Here comes the rush again, and a fumble. Who's got it?
Blockowitz recovered.
Okay, that ball was loose for just a moment. And the charge being led there, Phil, I think by Anthony Billings, number 20. Linebacker coming in from the left side.
Okay. You see the Bears have put in a number of new players.
Let's see if we can get those names for you. I think Gehrman is in his accustomed left middle linebacker spot. Gerbevak, he's still over the top of center. Well, a big loss on that play. Makes it about a 3rd and about 23, 24 yards to go for Woodbridge. Needless to say, they're going to be throwing deep on this. There's the pass. Johnson just lets it go. Still a lot of pressure on Kobalakowicz.
Yeah, he was leveled, I tell you. Steve Zenz.
Steve Zins, the fine defensive end for the Bears. Phil, I'll have to tell you, I had my doubts after the Cherokee game. I really did. They came through with a fine effort against Piscataway, and against what I believe is a quality Woodbridge team, they are really dictating the action tonight.
They really are. They have been from the very beginning, and maybe it's shades of things to come.
I just think it bears well for the future. If East Brunswick can come up with an effort like this, the rest of the Red Division has to be concerned. Short kick by Woodbridge on the 4th down. Fair catch called by Tenora, I believe. And East Brunswick is going to take over on about their own 42-yard line. 32-7 the score. A lot of action tonight, both through the air, on the ground, defensively, you name it. East Brunswick, it's been all their game.
And we're still in the 3rd quarter.
Just 1 minute exactly to go. And I think we have a new quarterback coming in, Phil.
Number 11.
It's Jimmy White.
Has to be Jimmy White. First time we've seen him this year.
All right, and Jimmy White was really engaged in a battle with Neary for the starting quarterback position during preseason. Gordon elected to go with Neary, but Jimmy White, make no mistake about it, is a quality quarterback, and he's going to get a chance to play. Give up the middle. Looks like the end on that, but we'll wait. It is. Go ahead, you say it.
Young.
Okay. Well, the senior comes out of the game. Let's see who we have back there now. I believe it's a senior, Sheldon Gonchar. I'm sorry, I don't know if I don't have that right. Give up the middle to Gehrman, and he pounds his way into a Woodbridge territory, gets a first down along with it. And you know, Phil, no matter who East Brunswick sends in,
they're just driving it down the field, Jim.
Papadopoulos comes into the game. We also have Frank Barbera here. Those two are split wide to the right, but we're still in a wishbone. And White's gonna keep it. Flag, as you can see. We'll wait for the call. White was electing to hold on that. And we're still waiting for the official to make the call here. We're talking to Woodbridge, so it's against East Brunswick. We have just 1 second left to go in this 3rd period. And it's holding on the Bears, Phil.
Well, that's about the only thing they've done wrong today.
Really, it has been a fine, fine display of offensive and defensive football by the Bears. Okay, referee winds his hand to start the clock. We have 1 second left to go. So that quarter mercifully ends for Woodbridge, really, when you think about it. And East Brunswick, with just 12 minutes left to go, 1 quarter, up 32-7. Already, a lot of the first-string players have been pulled. And this is a good opportunity for Marcus Morton to take a look at some of his other players.
That's right, Jim.
And also for Jimmy White to get some action, just in case Mark Neary can't play for some reason. This is important downs for Jimmy White. East Brunswick players, most of them on a knee, taking a well-deserved rest.
And I'll tell you, as you look at the East Brunswick players there, we talked about Troy White at RPI up there near Troy, New York.
That's right.
Doing a fine job. And then we have Josh Miller out at University of Arizona, right?
Yes.
The punting job and doing a fine job there. Some of the other players, Jim?
Of course, Brian Forte.
Yeah, he's still with
Second year at
Miami, waiting for his chance. And I understand he's in a fierce battle with Tourette for the...
Okay. Gino Toretta, I believe.
Right.
I'll tell you what, if Brian sticks it out there, and there's every indication that he will, he may get that one opportunity to play to be the starting quarterback for the University of Miami. And how many high school quarterbacks would covet that? But regardless, we're ready to begin action in the 4th quarter. Jimmy White calling signals. It's a first down for East Brunswick, about 20 yards on that penalty, and they give up the middle. Let's see who gets up off the bottom of that pile.
That was Gehrman.
Okay. Well, we'll give Tommy about 2 yards on that play. And I think the Bears will be content to just keep the ball on the ground, use as much time as they can. However, they do need about 16, 17 yards for a first down. So we'll watch. White fumbles it, picks it up, and squirms through. Look at him go. And he's close to first down yardage. Boy, when everything's going right, everything goes right.
I'll tell you, a fine heady play by Jimmy White there. Never did get the snap clean, picked it up, and took off.
And he is probably about 1 yard, maybe a yard and a half shy of a first down. So you got to give White 15 yards on that play. I don't think there's any question that if East Brunswick doesn't get a first down on this, they can afford now to go for it on fourth down. So that's White over top of Skirby. Give off to 32. It's Gonchar, excuse me. Flag on that play, though. What do we got here?
Probably motion, Jim.
Yeah. To be expected when there's new faces in the lineup. Woodbridge, of course, will accept that penalty and bring the ball back to their own 42. It'll give East Brunswick third and about 6 now. I'd like to see Varick in a situation like this, Phil. See how he handles some tough yards.
Well, you may get your opportunity right here.
Well, White keeps it. Didn't have any room.
Well, he had Varick out on the outside if he wanted to pitch it, but I don't think they're concerned about pitching it at this point.
All right, looks like Varela is going to be back to kick. So we have a fourth down.
And Bob Varela has shown a fine foot, I tell you.
Well, actually, that looks like Varick back, Phil, if I'm not mistaken. Low snap, but Varick puts it up. High kick. Comes over here on the near side. Takes a bounce for East Brunswick and heads out.
You're right, it was Varick.
And looks like it went out on about the 14-yard line. So all in all, not a bad kick for the sophomore. East Brunswick will, Woodbridge will take over possession with 9:35 left in this fourth quarter. East Brunswick holding a commanding 32-7 lead. Some new faces in defensively?
Yes, I'll tell you.
Okay. Not everybody, though. Not wholesale changes. Woodbridge offense split wide. Kowalakowicz pitches to Barton. I believe that's Barton, yes. Right. And he goes nowhere.
Tackle number 26. Bob Varela on the tackle.
Varela, who was not punting.
I was laughing because Scott Cameron was headed out for the field, and Nick Spadafino said, "Come back here. You're not about to go out there." Shades of Lawrence Taylor.
Sure. It's calling off the Lions, really. And this is a game to be savored by East Brunswick for a lot of reasons. They, again, were somewhat down after the initial loss of the year. Well, we have a timeout here, it looks like, and the entire East Brunswick defense will come over to the sidelines. This is a new twist, really. But it looks like the assistant coach here for East Brunswick.
That's Nick Spadafino, and I'll tell you, it's hard to believe he's been there 21 years. 21 years as a coach. You ever see this guy? Young-looking guy. He's a loyal Bear fan, and he's been doing a fine job for 21 years. Went to Murray State on a track scholarship. He loves track. I think track is probably his first love, but he's, as I said, been doing a fine job as a defensive coordinator for the Bears for a long time.
Okay. And as we all know, throughout the years, defenses have really been the name of the game for East Brunswick for the most part. Okay. Woodbridge will find itself with a 2nd down and 10 on their own 14-yard line. And they're behind 32-7. It's about 9 minutes left to go in this game. This is Kobolakowicz. He's going to throw. And Moorman, well, he caught the pass and ran about as fast as he could before Barnell Johnson caught up with him. But we got a flag here, and I got to wonder whether or not maybe a pick play was called on Woodbridge, Phil. And that would be interference.
I think that's what they're calling it.
You can't pick off like in basketball. And let's wait for the official call on this. They're talking it over. Well, now the official's staying right at where the ball went out of bounds at about the 36-yard line. And they're bringing it back. So a nice gain for the Barrons. Goes for naught. And it is an interference.
Well, it's been that type of night for the Barrons. It really has been a nightmare.
And that is going to be marked off. Let's see. Well, ball is inside the 15, so they're going to go half the distance. So let's call it about 3rd and 16 perhaps. Regardless, Woodbridge needs to throw it in the air, and East Brunswick should be expecting the pass. Kobolakowicz gives it a heave, and Figueroa got by his man, but that was R.J. Davis. R.J. Davis, I haven't seen him back there in the defensive backfield, Phil.
Well, he's been back there. As a matter of fact,
okay.
They use him now and then.
All right, well, he's going to stay back and be the recipient of this punt along with Brian Tenora. Dave Christensen will be the up back. And need I say it, East Brunswick's going to get the ball once again in fine field position.
Mercy.
Woodbridge, Kobolakowicz is going to be punting the ball from out of his own end zone. Gets off a fine punt. That's Tenora. Gives it to Davis. Cuts in. Looks, spins away from one tackle. Finally pulled down. But he gets down to the 37-yard line. And White will have an opportunity to operate once again with fine field position. And give credit, Phil, to the special teams tonight for East Brunswick. They've been doing the job.
Special teams are coming back. They took a vacation last year, and they seem to be back in sync now.
Okay, we see Varick in the backfield, White at quarterback. Gonchar is another back. Another wishbone. Give to Gonchar, he squeezes through. Gets some fine yards. Sheldon Gonchar. We haven't heard his name mentioned thus far.
Well, Sheldon's a senior, one of those guys that's been on the team for a while, and he's getting his chance and making the most of it.
Yes, he is, and he gets himself 7 solid yards on that off-tackle slant. Brings up a 2nd and 3. Clock continues to roll. We still have 7:45 in the 4th quarter. East Brunswick 32-7. Varick, look at him go! Wow, breaks a tackle, another tackle, and lumbers down to the 2-yard line.
Well, You sound as if you discovered him, Jim.
I enjoyed it, boy. I'll tell you what, he really looks like a find for East Brunswick.
Jimmy Allinder's fine, folks.
I'm sure he's been around for 15 or so years.
Jim Barrett.
Wow, East Brunswick knocking on the door again. Barrett got that ball down to, they're going to spot it on the 4-yard line. And a couple of quick pops here. And East Brunswick go to find Pater again, the way things have been going. White. Gonchar, he's close.
He's on the 1.
All right, they're going to mark it just short.
On the 1-inch line.
And I think at this point it becomes a question of who are we going to give it to?
And cheers go up because Ray Offenberger's just gone in the game.
Second down, ball almost on the goal line. And who gets the opportunity here? It's Barrick, and he falls into the end zone.
I'll tell you, and his first touchdown is for the sophomore.
Wow, and I think he'll remember it. Comes off a fine run there from his own 20-yard line. Brought it down to the goal line. And Jim Barrick adds to East Brunswick's lead. Score is now 38-7. 6 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. And I think we even have a new kicker here. Jason Swire is going to be doing the point after. And Swire punches it through. It looks, no, it's off to the right. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you, it looked awfully good to me.
It had the distance, but apparently just must have nudged to the right.
And
So
I'll tell you, a nice touch by Marcus Borden, giving some of these young players an opportunity to play.
Well, he really does need to at this point. 38-7, it's out of hand.
Well, I'm just saying, you got to remember these are the guys that practice every week and get knocked around by the starters a lot. And when you have an opportunity, it's good to allow them to be in there.
And as we saw before, well, we're making wholesale changes here. You see Pilato being pulled out. Papadopoulos coming in. White's going to be put on the kickoff team. And here we go, and it looks like Swire is going to be the kicker also.
Are there enough people out there? 1, 2, 3.
Count them out, Phil. Well, I only count 10.
They need one more.
They need one more, but there we go. All right. Looks like John Howley came onto the field. And these are the things that happen when you're making a lot of changes, but I don't think East Brunswick minds too much. Okay, Jason Swire will kick it off for East Brunswick. And a short kick taken by Gallagher, I believe, Phil. Ooh. And Gonchar was one of the first ones in on that tackle.
I'll tell you, I like the second string specialty team as well as the first.
And Woodbridge, down 38-7, is going to try to get something going. They got the ball on their own 25-yard line after that run back by Gallagher. And really a disheartening night for the Barrons and their fans.
Well, you know, I'm thinking about, well, they've given, Mike Salento's been there 3 years now, and they just haven't done that well during that period of time there. And he's a prodigal son coming home, and it's just the way everybody wanted it, and they just haven't been able to put things together. Last year they were 2-7. This year they're not starting off so well, and you got to wonder if things are going to be turned around.
Well, certainly off this game, you got to wonder. Phil, you got the East Brunswick schedule?
Yes, we do, and next week we're talking about Edison.
That should be a good one.
It should be a good one. You want to talk about a big line, though, Jim. You'll see these guys. I keep talking about them. They're huge. Yeah. They're coming here.
Well, you know, Phil, Woodbridge came in with a big line also, and East Brunswick seemed to stand them off very well.
Woodbridge's line is nowhere near as big as Edison's, but quickness may be the thing. I think what happened is that the East Brunswick learned something from the first few games, that you have to get off the ball quick. The team that's able to get off the ball quick is usually the team that can do it. And that's what they've done here against Woodbridge. So maybe they can do the same against Edison.
And that game is a week from Friday night, October 5th. It's going to be at Edison. Let's finish this one out, though. Woodbridge, for some unknown reason, decides to hand the ball up the middle. A couple of yards. I don't know who that was. Perhaps it was Jason Mormon. But East Brunswick content to give those yards, 3 yards.
And you got some new faces in there. Number 86, Frank Barbara.
Okay.
Number 2, Mike Castagliglio.
Kovalakowicz hands it off to 32. That's Barton, I believe. Maurice Barton. Barton's gets decent yardage, about 6 yards. And Woodbridge is going to be about 1 yard shy of a first down. They've had very little to cheer about except that drive that they took opening the second half, or actually East Brunswick had given up the ball. Woodbridge came right back and 3 passes, and then boom, they had a touchdown. We're back in the game, but it's been all East Brunswick since. Kovalakowicz, another give up the middle.
And a host of tacklers there.
Right, and I believe that is good for a first down. That was Barton on the carry. Marvin Barton this time. Figueroa is in the game, Phil. You think perhaps they're going to throw to him?
Why not?
And he's flanked to the left on the top of your screen. Keep your eye on him. And Kovalakowicz just heaves at the Mormon.
Oh.
Got behind Jim Varick.
I tell you, and right off Mormon's fingertips. That's the second one tonight for Mormon that he's had in his hands and dropped.
And if Mormon had gathered that in, he had nothing but open field ahead of him. But that's been the story for Woodbridge all evening.
That's for sure.
So we have 4:34. This game is really slowed down to a crawling pace.
Some of the other people, Pete Jones, Mark Lorenzo are in there now on the line.
And here's an I formation now for Woodbridge. And
speaking of a certain young man, he just jumped off sides.
Number 51, that was Pete Jones. Sorry we had to mention your name, Pete. Just a sophomore, 6 foot, 216. And again, you can't overemphasize the importance of the game experience that some of these youngsters are getting now. This is the type of experience that's going to help them when they're in game conditions that are a little bit more crucial. So Woodbridge gets 5 yards off of that one. They have a 2nd and 4. Pitch out here to Barton. He cuts it in and squirms his way in for about 3 yards, and he'll still be short of the first down. Stands, understandably, are starting to empty. This game is well in hand. East Brunswick with a very comfortable 38-7 lead. Just 4 minutes remaining in the game. If we have time, which I think we will, we'll run down the scoring for you. Kovalakowicz hands up the middle to Barton, and he plunges over, gets the first down.
And a fine tackle there by Bob Varela, number 26.
Well, as the clock runs, we're into 3:45. East Brunswick, 3 quick touchdowns in the first half on passing plays by Mark Neary to R.J. Davis, 43 yards, Cornell Johnson, 9 yards, and then Mike Pilato scored from 5 yards out, made it 18-0 halftime for East Brunswick. Kovalakowicz looks for his receiver. The ball's up in the air and tipped and knocked down. I didn't get who got that, Phil.
Neither did I, Jim.
Well, with the score 18-0 halftime, Woodbridge seemed to have a little life as they started a drive of their own, culminated in Jason Mormon scoring on a 20-yard double reverse made it 18-7, but East Brunswick came right back. A 65-yard run by Varnell Johnson made the score 25-7. Mark Wolfskull picked up a loose fumble. Here's that's Barton.
Brian Tenora on the tackle.
Okay, just to continue, Mark Wolfskull picked up a fumble which he caused on the quarterback, Kovalakowicz. Ran it in from 6 yards out, made it 32-7. And finally the extra point was good. And then Jim Varick, that was 32-7. And then Jim Varick, the sophomore running back, scored from 1 yard out to make it 38-7. And that's where we're at. Woodbridge with a third and about 9. Kovalakowicz throws it, and Figueroa catches it. It looks like he went down. You wonder whether he was hurt on that.
I'll tell you, Davis came over the back at, if he hadn't caught it, I'm surprised the officials didn't throw the flag. I thought he got there a little soon. Young Figueroa nevertheless held on to it.
Well, Barnell was definitely going for the intercept.
RJ.
RJ Davis. Well, the pass is complete, and that's first down for Woodbridge. They have a little bit of a drive going here. Here we go. Screen pass caught by Barton. And if it hadn't been for that tackle by RJ Davis, Barton would have gone right into the end zone.
Right, Jim.
And apparently Maurice Borton did not get out of bounds, so the clock continues to run. We're under 2 minutes now.
Well, you got to believe they're going to have to give Mr. Mormon another try again. He's had 2 in his hands, hasn't been able to hold on to it, so let's see if they go to him.
Give to Barton again.
Wow.
I just don't understand that call.
Well, they figured the Bears would be coming and they'd be able to sneak one by.
Well, nobody snuck anything anyway. That was a 2-yard gain at best, and we got 1:15 left in this game, folks. Woodbridge needs to get into the end zone. They need to get in the end zone quick. Here's Kovalakowicz. He's throwing it. That's to Barton, and Barton takes it down to inside the 10-yard line. It's going to be good enough for another first down. And with 52 seconds now, clock's going to run unless Woodbridge elects to stop it on a timeout. We'll see here. There goes the clock, and the quarterback is over near the sidelines. Finally a timeout called.
Wow, it's been that type of night. It's been that type of night. And you see the very weary Mike Salento walking out on the field. It's been a long, long night for him.
Well, it's been a long night here also for us. This last quarter has gone rather slow, predictably though. And if anything, Mike Salento will have the advantage here of calling a number of plays. So even if he has run out of timeouts, and we don't know that, Woodbridge will be able to use a hurry-up offense and be able to have a couple plays called, perhaps be able to push one in here. As we had mentioned, it's been all East Brunswick tonight, for the most part. Variety of players. We've had 5 different players score touchdown. Varnell Johnson scored twice, as he did last week against Piscataway.
That's right.
So he's got 4 on the year.
Right.
And I think in just retrospect in this game, certainly the Edison Eagles are going to have a lot to think about.
You know, we really don't know about the Edison Eagles. All we know is that they played Woodbridge and they were supposed to be the team in the area. They haven't played their second game yet, so we don't, well, they have played their second game.
Yes, as you watch this, we'll know. But the point of the matter is, Phil, what East Brunswick is doing to Woodbridge, that's what Edison was supposed to do. And it didn't pan out that way. Regardless, here comes Kovalakowicz. He's going to run it to the left. He's got some room, maybe. No. Breaks away.
He's down to the 1-inch line.
Wow. Billings had him by his jersey.
And he tore himself away.
And looks like Woodbridge does have a timeout, and they're going to call it. Rather anticlimactic, I would say. But
well,
I think the Barrons want to get this touchdown in.
You bet.
Well, just to pan down the schedule a little bit more if you're interested, you'll next see us on October 19th when we will televise right here from J. Doyle Field, weather permitting, the October 19th game against West Windsor. That's the first time that East Brunswick will be playing them. And the Edison game will not be televised. So you're all invited to head over to Matthew Dworrell Field next Friday night, October 5th, to see the Bears take on Edison in what could be the big game of the year for the Red Division. There's a lot of games down the line, but if Edison is a favorite, certainly the Bears are going to have to get past them.
Well, we've had a few surprises. What about Serval winning? And
that's right. Congratulations to the Saraville Bombers for knocking off Perth Amboy 7-6. Okay, here we go. Quarterback Nick Kobalakowicz is, somebody blocks him actually into the end zone.
I think you're right, Jim. He got hit after, everything.
He seemed to be stopped, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we talked about Serval and J.P. Stevens with the big win over Madison Central. So things get interesting.
Well, they certainly do. Okay. We'll give Woodbridge that score with 21 seconds left to go in the game. And that makes it 38-13. Point after will be attempted. That's Salazi straight forward on the kick. Excuse me, not Salazi. Dennis McDougall.
And it's no good.
Okay, score remains 38-13. And you see the players slowly walking up the field. And East Brunswick will be set to receive the ball. The defensive team for East Brunswick getting a nice hand, as well they should. They really made a very nice effort tonight.
Well, it's been a total team effort, and I'll tell you, Marcus Borden will sleep good tonight. I don't know if he's slept well in the last few weeks.
I don't think he did.
But I'll tell you, he'll certainly sleep good tonight.
He's got a lot to be proud of.
Oh, well, they showed what they're made of. We talked about them at the beginning of the year, and they've bounced back with two very convincing wins, and they're right in the thick of things now.
That's right, and I think that's the key. They're right in the thick of it. Well, looks like Woodbridge is lining up for an onside kick here. And let's watch it. Bounced up, and
wow, they got it.
They're going to get it, looks like it. Ball went the necessary 10 yards. And if you want to see a picture perfect.
Well, picture perfect, and well, all fairness to the Bears, they had a lot of new guys in here who never probably practiced receiving the onside kick. So
clock continues to run here off that. So we're under 10 seconds. So it looks like Kobalakowicz is going to try to get this last play off. Here we are. This is the last play of the game. And it's a little long. And that's going to do it. East Brunswick, despite that onside kick fumble, wins this game handily, 38-13 over Woodbridge. A fine effort by the Bears as you see the teams going across the field to congratulate each other. Phil, your thoughts on tonight's game?
Just wow. I don't think anybody thought the game would end up like this. The Bears have an awful lot to be proud of. They got to enjoy this victory tonight and set their minds right and get ready for a very big and Tough Edison team.
Right.
But they got to feel they're in a groove right now. Defensively, they've looked really sharp. And as you saw tonight, the offense has really come around.
The offense has come around. It's varied. A lot of passing.
Right.
A lot of running. Some special team play that we had mentioned. And all in all, a really excellent effort by the East Brunswick Bears. So that's your final. 38-13 is the score. So for Jimmy Allinder and Phil Hill, have a good evening.